Oh, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we're going to get back into the swing of things. We've had some kind of different Sunday Stuff and Things lately. We have some things to talk about. We will, of course, be picking up once again our readings from The EYE of Argon by Jim Theis, the most amazing sci-fi / fantasy novella, short story ever written. We will be talking about what's coming up on both the channels, both on SaTP and SaT. We will talk about trying to keep some perspective with everything that's going on lately. I just had a good conversation with a friend, and it sort of helped me solidify some of my ideas that I've been having about perception versus reality. We'll get into that a little bit. I also have kind of a big announcement, or I don't want to build it up too much, but something that I need to tell you about, need to show you that I'm not super excited about, but we're going to do that. We're going to get through it, so stick around till the end. And then, of course, at the very end, we will have your questions in hashtag #AskStuffandThings. But first, as I mentioned, we will start the show with a reading from The EYE of Argon by Jim Theis. Now, it's been a while since we had a reading. Last time, Grigner was trying to make his escape. He had, I think, killed a couple guards. He was wandering around through sort of a labyrinthine area. Now we pick it up here. Glancing about the dust-swirled room in the gloomily dancing glare of his flickering cresset, Grigner eyed evidences of the enclosure being nothing more than a forgotten storeroom. Miscellaneous articles required for the maintenance of a castle were piled in disorganized heaps at infrequent intervals toward the wall opposite the barbarian's piercing stare. Utilizing long, bounding strides, Grigner paced his way over to the mounds of supplies to discover if any articles of value were contained within their midst. Detecting a faint sorry. Sometimes I assume he makes a typo when he didn't. Detecting a faint clinking sound, Grigner sprawled to his left side with the speed of a striking cobra, landing harshly upon his back, torch and axe loudly clattering to the floor in a morass of sparks and flame. A elm-woven board leaped from collapsed flooring, clashing against the jagged flooring and spewing a shower of orange and yellow sparks over Grigner's startled face. Rising uneasily to his feet, the half-stunned accordion glared down at the gruesome arm of death he had unwittingly sprung. Mrific! If not for his keen auditory organs and lightning-steeled reflexes, Grigner would have been groping through the shadowed hell pits of the Grim Reaper. He had unknowingly stumbled upon an ancient, long-forgotten booby trap, a mistake which would have stunted the perusal of longevity of one less agile. A mechanism similar in type to that of a miniature catapult was concealed beneath two collapsible sections of granite flooring. The arm of the device was 4 feet long, boasting razor-like cleats at regular intervals along its face, with which it was to skewer the luckless body of its would-be victim. Grigner had stepped upon a concealed catch which released a small metal latch beneath the two granite sections, causing them to fall inward, and thereby loose the spiked arm of death they precariously held in. Partially out of curiosity and partially out of an inordinate fear of becoming a pincushion for a possible second trap, Grigner plunged his torch into the exposed gap in the floor. The floor of a second chamber stood out 7 feet below the glare. Tossing his torch through the aperture, Grigner grasped the side of an adjoining tile, dropping down. Glancing about the room, Grigner discovered that he had descended into the palace's mausoleum. Rectangular stone crypts cluttered the floor at evenly placed intervals. The tops of the enclosures were plated with thick layers of virgin gold, while the sides were plated with white ivory, at one time sparkling, but now grown dingy through the passage of the rays of all-encompassing Mother Time. It was all one word. Featured at the head of each sarcophagus in tarnished silver was an expugnissively expugnatively carved likeness of its rotting inhabitant. That's not a word. Is that a word? That's not a word. Okay, I looked up expugnative, which I knew was not a word, and the first hit I got on Google was the EYE of Argon. So, it looks like Jim Theis has coined his own word, expugnative, or expugnatively, carved likeness of its rotting inhabitant. A dingy atmosphere pervaded the air of the chamber, which sealed in the enclosure for an unknown period, had grown thick and stale. Intermingling with the curdled currents was the repugnant stench of slowly moldering flesh, creeping ever slowly but surely through minute cracks in the numerous vaults. Due to the embalming of the bodies, their flesh decayed at a much slower rate than is normal, yet the nauseous odor was nonetheless repellent. All right, this chapter is another very long chapter. We will hopefully get through most of it in the next episode of Stuff and Things Plays. Until next time. But for now, we will have to leave Grigner in the mausoleum amongst the expugnatively carved likenesses of the rotting inhabitants. All right, King, I mentioned we had things coming up on both of the channels when I was talking about the rundown in the top of the show. First of all, on Stuff and Things Plays, we of course are continuing with our Bloodborne series. It is getting better and better all the time. I love that game. The game's fantastic. Kevin the Kurt, or Kevin Lesec, the protagonist of our particular playthrough of Bloodborne, is doing quite well. He is tackling the bosses, going into new areas, finding frightening enemies, and just acting like a maniac. That's great. It's going on. That's usually every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That will be this Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. But then the week after, I had to try out a game that everybody's been talking about, and that game is called Fall Guys. It's a weird, cartoony kind of art style, battle royale. It's like that Japanese game show Takeshi's Castle, where they would have contestants go through these obstacle courses. They could like get knocked off and fall into vats of slime and things like that. It's kind of like a video game version of that, but you're up against 60 other people playing online. You have to go through these courses. People get eliminated each round, and then finally at the end you can go through the final and get the crown. I've played a bit of it. I think it's kind of funny. I'm going to do a video about that, not this next week, but the week after. If you guys like that, we may do more of those here and there. Obviously, we are still prioritizing Bloodborne. And then, on Stuff and Things, we are going to do, this Wednesday, a first impressions video for this blend. Ken Byron Ventures Verge Engine Overdrive. This is a Perique blend by a very interesting blender. I'm sure some of you will have heard of Ken Byron. I had only just sort of peripherally heard of him, just whispers here and there on pipe forums and stuff like that, other people asking me about him. And I had got this sent to me by a very, very generous viewer, and I finally decided to try it out and do a first impressions video of it. That will be posting this Wednesday. It's pretty interesting, and if you look up Ken Byron and the blends that he makes, that's also pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to getting more into that, doing some more research on him when we do the final review. But for now, the first impressions video will be posting this Wednesday. And then also, I keep doing that. I apologize, that's right in front of the microphone. That's probably annoying. Guitar stuff. Why did it take me so long to get back into guitar? I don't know. But I'm having so much fun playing and practicing and exploring everything about it. The gear, just learning is fun. Did you know that, gang? Learning is fun. And there are things that I have ignored guitar-wise pretty much my entire life, having sort of dabbled in guitar. I never really dealt into scales or playing lead or anything like that. And I've been kind of getting into some of the theory of guitar that I had always ignored, and it's fascinating. And I'm trying to formulate an idea for a video. Obviously, we have some videos on pedals that we need to do too, but I'd also like to do a video where I talk about some of the discoveries I've made, even though they're things that are probably completely obvious to most people who play guitar, but to me, they were big sort of eureka moments. And it has to do with some guitar theory. It has to do with how different scales interact with songs and lead lines and stuff. It's very fascinating to me, and it was a huge moment for me in just like my progression, I guess, going from just like, oh, I'll just play some chords, learn some songs, to actually like, no, I want to learn how to play guitar. So I'm gonna do a video on that soon. I just don't know exactly how I want to pitch it and exactly what I want to cover, but that'll be coming up soon. And then also we have those jam pedals from Greece that I want to show you as well, so stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much what we have coming up. Obviously we have, like I mentioned, Ken Byron's Verge Engine Overdrive, and then we'll have the review for that eventually as well. But the first impressions video is this week. And now I just want to very, very delicately and very carefully talk about something that we're not really supposed to talk about on YouTube. I just had a conversation with a lifelong friend of mine. Some of you may be aware of the fact that I did a podcast way back in the day called The Warren and Bradley Show. My probably best friend, even though we hardly ever talk anymore, my friend Warren, we did a podcast together which would now probably be considered super, super politically incorrect, but back in the time when we did it, I thought it was pretty funny. We talk occasionally. He lives in Chicago, so we don't get to see each other very often, but we hadn't spoken since March, I think, when all the certain public health crisis stuff was just kind of starting to take off. And we finally spoke today, and it was just an interesting conversation. We talk politics a lot. We talk sort of just sociology or cultural things and just what's going on in society. We don't agree about everything all the time, but we do have some fairly similar ideas about the way the world should work. If only we were in charge. The whole world would burn if we were in charge, but not intentionally, but it probably would. But we were discussing things, and it was really a nice conversation because it was reinforcing a lot of things that I feel about the idea of the common perception in our societies versus the reality of what's actually going on. And you can fit that into all sorts of different scenarios. We spoke recently about how I had read the book Apocalypse Never about environmentalism and things that are considered conventional wisdom as far as preserving the environment that may not necessarily be the most beneficial thing to be doing for the environment. So there's this perception that you're doing good, but actually the reality might be that you're having the opposite effect on things. And we were talking about people's fear about the stuff that has been going on or things that are going on recently. And I started bringing up some statistics. And I guess in a very roundabout way, all I want to do is sort of impart to all of you the idea that things are almost never as bad as you think they are, because there is an entire industry built upon freaking you out, making you afraid. And that is the media, and that is also the political establishment, because they need people to think that unless you vote for them, you will die, or the world will crumble, or the nation will collapse. The media needs you to constantly be clicking on stories because it's an existential crisis. It's the end of the world, and you need the information that they can impart to you. But the media is a filter, and the political system is a filter, and they present the story, or whatever story it is, through their specific filter, their specific lens, and they're trying to give you a narrative. Now, this is not some great weird conspiracy that I'm trying to hatch right now or to try to clue you in on. All I'm saying is that there is actual information out there, raw, unfiltered data. And if you look at that and take it with a critical eye, you can come to your own conclusions, and maybe the conclusions you come to are a bit less alarmist and a bit less extreme than the ones that are being given to you by the media and by the political system. A good example of this, and I'm not going to get into this deeply, but I was looking on the CDC website, looking at all the raw data about the certain public health crisis that we have been having. And I've been doing this for months. This is what I do. I look up things that I'm interested in or that concern me, concern us as a society, and I try to find the truth about things. I don't go to weird conspiracy websites. I try not to go to people who have a vested interest in presenting a certain narrative, because you can't always trust those people to tell you the truth. I try to go to raw data whenever I can. And going through the CDC data, it reinforced to me that I'm not afraid. I'm not too worried. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take precautions. I'm not saying that this isn't a major crisis within our society. It is. But maybe you don't have to be as afraid as the media wants you to be and as people within the political sphere want you to be. Go to the CDC. Look at the information yourself. Don't look at the preces that they write up for the media. Look at the raw data. And by me saying this, I'm not saying there is no problem. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take precautions. I'm just saying if you are a certain person of a certain age group and you look at the raw data, maybe it will show you that you don't need to be as afraid as perhaps you have been. That's all. All right, and now I have to tell you about something. Basically, it is something that I did recently, and I wanted to come to you and tell you about it before it gets to you from other means, like through a filter. And I just wanted to just come clean and tell you what happened and try to give you some sort of perspective, my perspective on why it happened and maybe what that means. You guys have been amazing for years, watching this channel, watching Stuff and Things Plays, supporting me, being so generous with your time, watching the videos, often with your money, supporting me on Patreon. So I can't thank you enough for that. And I hope that what I'm about to show you now, what I'm about to tell you about what I've done, will not mean that you can no longer feel as though you can support me. But a few days ago, I was getting very frustrated. I was getting very just tired and desperate, I guess, and I was not in a good state of mind. And I did something that, given a normal circumstance or given my normal state of mind, I never would have done. But I just kind of snapped. I kind of broke a little bit and I did something. And I am not proud of what I did. I want you to know that it is not indicative of who I am as a person. But I guess I should just show you. I shaved my head. And finally, it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the next Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SaT Bradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings, and I will do my best to answer your question on the next Sunday Stuff and Things. Also, if you are a Patreon supporter, you can write to me on there, and I will try to answer your question as well. First, via Patreon, we have a question from John Leone. I think that's how you pronounce your name, John. Okay, here's another for you. Disregarding the monetary benefit, is it better to buy pipe tea in smaller containers rather than in the large 8-ounce cans or in bulk? My thought is that it will hold better in the airtight canisters. Or is there not too much of a drop-off if I buy 8-ounce tins of my favorite and store in mason jars? This is an interesting one, John. I think I've mentioned before, I haven't done a huge amount of aging, but I do store blends. My opinion is, and it's not really opinion, I think it's fact, If you have an airtight container, like a tin, you can get, I don't have any with me right now, but a typical 1.75, 1.76 ounce or 50 gram tin that is air sealed will keep your blend fresh and nice for years, for decades even, as long as no rust gets into it. If it's a metal tin, that's fine. If you have a bulk blend that comes in a baggie, that's not fine. That is not completely airtight. You do need to put that into an airtight container. And when I say an airtight container, you do need like a canning jar. You need a sealed lid that's not going to let any air in there. That way you will keep it safe, and also keep it out of the sun if it's a clear glass jar. But just the kind of jars that just like clamp closed are usually not tight enough or airtight enough. You will still get, basically your blend will completely dry out if you leave it in a container like that. You want one where you're pretty much in a vacuum. So a canning jar is great for that. But if you have it in a tin that is factory sealed, just leave it in the factory sealed tin. And even if it's an 8 ounce, drum, it'll still be fine in there, as long as it's sealed. Next, from Matthew Tremblay at Matthew Trem. Been watching your YouTube reviews of straight Virginias, which I really appreciate. Which do you suggest most? SG Full Virginia Flake, not that I can find any to buy. Yeah, I know. GLP's Union Square, MBHH or McFadin HH Pure Virginia, or something else. If you just want like a great straight Virginia, Dunhill Flake or now Peterson Flake is great. It's a really, really good blend. I like it a lot. Even like Orlick, something like Orlick is fine too. I love Samuel Gawith Full Virginia Flake, but like you said, it's really hard to find. The one I just reviewed, the Robert McConnell double pressed Virginia, that was great too. That's a really good blend. There are really quite a lot of really good straight Virginias in there, but some of my favorites are now Peterson Flake, Samuel Gawith Full Virginia Flake. The Robert McConnell double pressed Latakia was really good as well. So there's a lot of good options out there. Union Square is good. All the ones you mentioned are pretty good. The most, I guess, if I had to suggest to you the one I like the best, might be Full Virginia Flake, but like you said, it's really hard to get. Next, from Briar Life, at Briar_Life. Thank you for all you do for the pipe community. You've inspired me to create Briar Life, a lifestyle brand based on our hobby and all the traditions behind it. My question is, does your friend Chance still enjoy pipes? Please check me out on Instagram and enjoy the Briar Life. That's great. Everyone should check him out as long as he's not a maniac. I have not vetted Briar Life to see if they are in fact a maniac, but if they are not a maniac, check out their Instagram page at Briar Life. Chance does occasionally, I haven't spoken to Chance in a while. I haven't spoken to almost any friend in a long time. Socialization has really kind of dropped off lately. You might wonder why that is, but you probably know why that is. But as far as I know, he would just occasionally enjoy one, and he probably is still the same. We shall see. I need to get in touch with him. Next, from Snail Tracks. Enter my dungeon and ride my dragon? At Snail Tracks, hashtag askstuffandthings. What's the strongest nicotine-laden tea you've ever had? Strangest flavor profile description you've ever used? Love the show. Strongest nicotine. It's got to be something like what is it called? One of the Gawith ropes. Maybe like, what the heck is that called? Number 4. I'm completely drawing a blank on the name of that, but you know what I'm talking about. The rope blends, something like that. It's probably one of the strongest ones I've ever had as far as the big N goes. And then strangest flavor profile description you've ever used. That's a tough one because I can't really remember what I say in my reviews after several years have gone by. I'm sure I've said something ridiculous about it tasting like a particular blend, tasting like weird, disparate things that you might think sound insane. But I don't know. I'll have to look into that, or maybe better yet, one of you can look into that. Next, we have another one. Oh, we have another Matthew Tremblay at Matthew Trem. Matthew says, have you ever had hashtag Seattle Pipe Club Deception Pass? Reminds me a lot of Elizabethan. Black Cavendish adds a nice balance to it, though. It has a nice classic tea taste to it, too. Please follow me on YouTube. Okay, we'll let people follow you at Picking and Piping. Hashtag askstuffandthings. Again, as long as Matthew is not a maniac, feel free to follow him on YouTube. I do not vouch for Matthew. He seems nice. I'm sure he's nice. In fact, I have no reason to think he's not. But just in case he's a maniac, don't blame me. Deception Pass I have had. I don't know that I've reviewed it. My God, there's so many. I looked at the review playlist a while back. There's so many blends on there. It's ridiculous. And some of them I'm like, what? I reviewed that? I don't remember that. So I can't remember if I've done Deception Pass. I know I've had it. In fact, I'm fairly certain I just had a sample of it. I don't think I've ever had a tin. Maybe. I'm sure someone's going to post like a link to the video review of Deception Pass or something in the comments. But I for the life of me, can't really remember what it tasted like. If it had Cavendish in it, I probably didn't like it as much as Elizabethan. In fact, I know I didn't like it as much as Elizabethan, but I don't usually like Black Cavendish very much. That's just me personally. Next, from Jason Hunt. Hey, Jason, at Hexeter. Hello, Bradley. Just picked up a Skeletool KB today, and much like the OG Skeletool, this one also does not disappoint. KB, I haven't seen that. Thanks for the upcoming video on the thanks for the video on the Skeletool line all those months ago. Hashtag askstuffandthings. Story behind the Japanese artwork in the SaT studio. Oh yeah. I just like ukiyo-e prints. I think they look cool. And I have several in our apartment back home. We have several prints from people like Hiroshige. Yeah, they're good. I like them. Next, from at Tyler Brubaker 20. I'm gonna have to look up the Skeletool KB. Hold on. Oh, yeah, I have seen this. So it's just like a folding pocket knife, but it has a couple little other functionalities in there. Pretty cool. Yeah, the Skeletool KB. Excellent. All right. Last question from Tyler at Tyler Brubaker 20. Hello, Tyler. Hey, Bradley. Hope all is well. I gotta say, I was tickled when I saw the Shure. I'm assuming you're referring to the Shure SM7B that I use to do my gameplay videos, and I used it on the live stream. My question is, do you have to use a cloud lifter preamp like I do? Hashtag askstuffandthings. This won't mean much to anyone who doesn't do this kind of thing, but yes, I do use a cloud lifter to get the gain up enough, because I'm just going in. I'm also using the Shure, what is it called? It's their USB interface that you can plug an XLR output into. And then, so I go the SM7B into the cloud lifter into the Shure thingy, the interface. I can't remember what it's called, but it's XLR into USB, and then that goes into my computer. So thank you for the questions, everybody, and thank you all for watching. But before we go, it is time for the very best part of the show. Now, more than ever, I so much appreciate our Patreon supporters. It really means a lot that any of you would take the time and take the effort and go to the to give me monetary support for the two channels, because I know how rough things can be for some people out there. It's definitely been a little leaner for me as well, and so it really helps keeping the channel going and keeping everything steaming along like it has been. And I like to thank those people every single week. The people who support the channels at $25 or more a month get a special shout out every week. People like Ryan McFadin, MDoftheNorth, Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Cody Striegler, Ryan Stauffer, Glenn, David Gaudreau, and Gus. And also the Maniacs, the people who support the channel at $100 a month. People like Peter Straub, who I am thinking of. Peter's been in my thoughts a lot lately. He's having some health issues, and I am really hoping that everything goes well for him. And I don't know, if any of you know of him on social media or are connected to him, maybe you could extend some well wishes his way as well, because he could use them lately. And then Bob Magee, a great, amazing, wonderful person. If you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And gang, that's it for this Sunday Stuff and Things. Please stay tuned for the first impressions video of Ken Byron Ventures Verge Engine Overdrive. That will be posting this Wednesday at noon Pacific. And then also Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Bloodborne is showing up on Stuff and Things Plays at 2 Pacific. The week after that, we're going to have Bloodborne, and we will also have some Fall Guys. There are going to be more guitar videos coming up, more pipe blend videos coming up, more of everything coming up. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.